A Lady's Tranquility Story of Kunning Palace. Chapter 3. Teacher Xie had always prided himself on striking a delicate balance between leniency and discipline. It was a method that young Marquise Yan Lin both appreciated and occasionally found too permissive, emboldening his fellow students. But it was precisely this balance that had set the stage for the unexpected events of the previous evening, events that weighed heavily on both Yan Lin and Shen Jie as they returned to the Forbidden City. Yan Lin's bold declaration the night before still echoed in Shen Jie's thoughts. He had paused, calculating Yan Lin's age. In just 2 months, the young Marquise would celebrate his coming-of-age ceremony. Discussions of marriage were not out of place. Shen Jie finally broke the silence. "Does the Marquise know of your intentions?" he asked, a teasing smile tugging at his lips. "He knows," Yan Lin replied with calm certainty, casually swinging his horsewhip as the imposing walls of the Forbidden City loomed ahead. Unbuckling his sword, letting it hang loosely by his side, he added, "My father has spoken to me at length about the Jiang family. Master Jiang is now a respected minister in the Ministry of Revenue, a man of substantial power and influence. His friendship with Master Shi, combined with the service he once provided to the emperor, makes our families a perfect match. After my coming-of-age ceremony in November, I will send someone to formally propose." Shen Jie studied Yan Lin with an appraising gaze. It was uncharacteristic for the Marquise to show such a keen interest in the intricacies of court life. Normally, Yan Lin brushed aside advances from nobles and playboys with an almost disinterested arrogance. "And yet here you are," Shen said, with a hint of surprise, "spinning webs of intrigue and making plans I would never have guessed." Yan Lin's face reddened ever so slightly, but his voice grew louder, masking his slight embarrassment. "What's wrong with being protective?" he challenged. "I'm willing." Shen Jie allowed the silence to stretch, pondering the young Marquise's motives, slowly grasping his friend's strategy. As the old saying goes, one should not covet a friend's wife. Yan Lin's earlier words had reminded Shen Jie that Jiang Xuening was from a respectable family, and he needed to maintain his distance. Simultaneously, Yan Lin had made his intentions clear, staking his claim before anyone else could entertain similar ideas. It was a balancing act, one that Yan Lin intended to master as they continued their journey back home. Such a display of dominance, Shen Jie mused, amused by his friend's fierce determination. He chuckled, and the tension between the two dissolved as swiftly as it had formed. Soon, they arrived at the Wu Gate, the grand entrance to the Forbidden City. Yan Lin handed his sword to the guards, and the pair veered right, passing through the Huiji Gate and making their way toward Wenhua Hall. Shen Jie's older brother, Shen Lang, had ascended the throne 4 years prior, ushering in a new era for the dynasty. But those early days had been anything but stable. As the late emperor's health declined, he became increasingly erratic, at one point even confining Shen Lang to the palace and threatening to banish him. Fate, however, had intervened in the form of Shi Wei, a mysterious figure whose sudden arrival changed everything. Shi Wei's influence helped Shen Lang consolidate his power, and with the assistance of a renowned doctor, the late emperor's final days were eased. In his last moments, the emperor decreed that the throne would pass to Shen Lang, his third son. Shi Wei, also known by his courtesy name Juan, hailed from the once powerful Shi family of Jinling. Though their influence had diminished, their name still resonated in the corridors of power. Passing the imperial examination at the age of 20, Shi Wei had entered the esteemed Hanlin Academy, but his service was cut short by his mother's passing, which called him back to observe the traditional 3 years of filial piety. When he returned to the capital at 23, the political landscape had shifted, and his guidance allowed Shen Lang's smooth ascension to the throne. Shi Wei, though holding no official position, became one of the emperor's most trusted advisors and was appointed grand tutor to the crown prince, lecturing not just the prince but even the emperor himself. The autumn breeze swept through the city as Shen Lang's health began to falter. On numerous occasions, he summoned the grand counselors, their secret discussions veiled in mystery. A month earlier, Shen Lang had decreed that noble children, including several of his brothers, would join him in the palace for lectures under Shi Wei. Shen Jie was among them. As Yan Lin and Shen Jie approached Wenhua Hall, the familiar sounds of a lecture drifted through the air. Huang De, the eunuch standing guard, leaned forward and whispered urgently, "Your Highness, little Marquise, why are you late today? The lesson has already begun, and Master Shi will surely notice if you enter now." The friends exchanged knowing glances, their heads throbbing in unison. The revelry of the previous night had made them forget entirely about the lecture. Shi Wei, famous for his strict yet lenient approach, was not a man to tolerate tardiness lightly. Even the favored Prince of Yanping had not escaped his discipline. The young prince had once attempted to slip in late through a side door, only to be caught by Shi Wei and made to recite a passage from On the Partisanship of Friends, a text they had discussed the previous day. His failure to do so had led to an embarrassing scene, and the prince had spent the night studying before returning the next day to recite not only the required passage but also 10 considerations for advising Emperor Taizong. The prince was only 14 and could be forgiven for his youthful indiscretions. Yan Lin and Shen Jie, however, were older than the prince and far more concerned with preserving their reputations. As they stood outside, the murmured words of the ongoing lecture filled the air, sending a ripple of unease through them. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe, like, and comment. Huang De, ever resourceful, proposed a solution. Today, the Shangyi Bureau sent a qin as a gift to Master Shi, and His Majesty has given it to him. During the tea break, Master Shi will likely wish to test the instrument. If you wait until then to enter, he might be too distracted by the qin to care about your lateness. The two friends exchanged hopeful glances, grateful for Huang De's quick thinking. As they waited in the side hall, the melodic cadence of the lecture continued, a reminder of the wisdom and power and authority of revered Master Shi. Shen Jie and Yan Lin bowed deeply to Huang De, expressing their gratitude for his understanding and swift intervention. "Thank you, Eunuch Huang," they exclaimed in hushed tones before making their way to the side hall to await the tea break. As the two men settled in the side hall, Jiang Xuening found herself navigating the familiar yet strangely unfamiliar streets of the capital. Memories from her youth flooded her mind as she retraced the paths she had once known so well, gradually regaining her bearings. No longer the empress confined to the high walls of Kunning Palace, Jiang Xuening felt an unexpected sense of freedom as she wandered through the bustling city. The mundane chaos of daily life washed over her, a welcome distraction from the surreal events of her rebirth. Her destination, the Jiang Mansion, was nestled in Huaishu Alley, and it wasn't long before the vermilion gates of her former home came into view. Jiang Xuening couldn't deny her lack of affection for the family she had once been a part of, her complicated history tainting any feelings of nostalgia. Born to Jiang Boyu's legitimate wife, Madame Meng, Jiang Xuening's life had been marked by deception and betrayal from the very beginning. During her mother's pregnancy, Madame Meng and her father's concubine Wanyang had become entangled in a bitter feud. Wanyang, once a thin horse from Yangzhou, had risen to become Jiang Boyu's favored concubine and was soon expecting a child of her own. When Madame Meng sought to banish Wanyang to a farm in Tongzhou, Wanyang retaliated with a daring plan. Amidst the chaos surrounding the childbirth, she swapped her daughter with Madame Meng's, forever altering the course of both girls' lives. From that moment on, Wanyang's daughter became Jiang Xuehui, the legitimate heir to the Jiang family fortune, while Madame Meng's daughter, Jiang Xuening, was sent to live in the countryside with Wanyang, oblivious to her true identity and the luxuries she had been denied. Despite the circumstances, Wanyang treated Jiang Xuening with kindness, teaching her to read, write, and appreciate the finer things in life. She never blamed the young girl for the injustices she had suffered. Now, standing before the gates of her former home, Jiang Xuening couldn't help but reflect on the twisted fates that had brought her to this moment and the uncertain future that lay ahead. Reflecting on the past, Jiang Xuening couldn't help but marvel at the depth of Wang Yang's scheming. 4 years ago, as Wang Yang's health deteriorated, she had written a letter to the capital, exposing the truth about the swapped daughters. The revelation threw the entire Jiang household into chaos. After confirming the shocking news, family members rushed to the capital, but Wang Yang refused to engage in pointless arguments with them, leaving behind only a cryptic message: "It's too late to regret." Madame Meng, filled with resentment, found herself unable to unleash her anger on the deceased Wang Yang or Jiang Xuehui. Exposing the scandal would tarnish the family's reputation, making it difficult for Jiang Xuehui to find a suitable marriage partner. Thus, the Jiang family arrived at a compromise. They concocted a story. A fortune teller had predicted that Jiang Xuening would face misfortune before her 14th birthday, and she needed to be raised away from the bustling city to ensure her survival. Now that she had turned 14, it was safe for her to return to the mansion. As a result, the Jiang family claimed 2 legitimate daughters. Upon Jiang Xuening's return, Madame Meng allowed her to pursue her interests and adjust to life as a young lady. Jiang Boyu, feeling guilty for his daughter's tumultuous upbringing, indulged her whims. In time, Jiang Xuening's temperament shifted, revealing a spoiled and domineering nature. She bullied Jiang Xuehui, and upon meeting Yanlin, became even more rebellious. Discovering her cross-dressing habits, Madame Meng flew into a rage, blaming Wang Yang's influence for her daughter's behavior. Jiang Boyu, however, felt that the criticism was unwarranted. He recognized Yanlin as a positive influence, and after the young man visited the Jiang mansion to discuss the matter, the family agreed to cover for Jiang Xuening. When disguised as a man, they referred to her as young master, pretending she was another member of the family. The gatekeeper's eyes widened as he recognized her. "Young master is back," he murmured, bowing low in deference. The Jiang family's 4-courtyard mansion was modest, yet tastefully decorated. Despite Jiang Boyu's position as assistant minister in the Ministry of Revenue, he remained cautious with his wealth, opting for an understated home within the capital's expensive real estate market. Jiang Xuening recalled that during this time in her previous life, she resided in a room in the West Wing, right next to Jiang Xuehui's. Initially, she felt both envious and insecure around her, leading her to behave callously. She exploited Jiang Xuehui's identity as a concubine's daughter and treated her harshly, allowing her servants to mistreat her as well. Jiang Xuening had even stolen opportunities meant for Jiang Xuehui, such as the chance to accompany the princess in her studies and her own wedding to Shenjie. Eventually, Jiang Xuehui married an imperial examination candidate and left the capital, crossing paths with Jiang Xuening only briefly during the New Year celebrations. As Jiang Xuening pondered how she should treat Jiang Xuehui in this life, she overheard a piercing voice echoing through the corridor. It belonged to a woman dressed in silver and gold, a sneer curling her lips as she spoke. As she pondered how to proceed, she overheard a sharp voice nearby. Wang Xing, a former servant of Madame Meng, was now chastising Jiang Xuehui with a cruel arrogance. But Jiang Xuening remained unseen, watching as the scene unfolded, the complexities of her relationships with those around her suddenly more apparent. Standing in the shadows, Jiang Xuening felt a shift within her. No longer the naive girl of her past, she was now a player in this intricate web of secrets and schemes, ready to rewrite her fate. Jiang Xuening's heart raced as she watched the exchange between Wang Xing and Jiang Xuehui. In her previous life, she had allowed herself to be blind to these interactions, consumed by jealousy and the desire to assert her superiority. But now, seeing the cruelty unfold in front of her, a sense of unease crept over her. Wang Xing, once a servant loyal to her, had become a symbol of the indulgence and arrogance that Jiang Xuening no longer wished to embody. Jiang Xuehui, standing dignified despite Wang Xing's insults, reminded Jiang Xuening of the quiet strength her former rival had always possessed. Dressed in a simple sky-blue robe adorned with delicate lotus flowers, Xuehui radiated a calm that contrasted sharply with Wang Xing's venomous words. Behind her, a young girl, likely a servant, stood meekly, watching the confrontation unfold. Jiang Xuening watched as the scene unfolded, uncertain of what role she should play in this new version of her life. The dynamics she had once been a part of now seemed foreign and unsettling, leaving her to question her own relationships and the actions she should take moving forward. Wang Xing's eyes locked onto Jiang Xuehui, her arrogance dissipating as she noticed the girl's presence. Her tone shifted into one of flattery as she greeted Jiang Xuening and offered her favorite treats. Extending her hand to help Jiang Xuening, the sunlight caught a sapphire jade bracelet adorning her wrist, its vibrant color hinting at its quality. Recognizing the bracelet, Jiang Xuening was transported back to her past life when Wan Yang had placed the very same bracelet in her hand, making a dying request that she give the bracelet to Jiang Xuehui. Perhaps it was that moment when her jealousy of Jiang Xuehui began. After returning to the mansion, she dropped it in a box to never be seen again, ultimately abandoning the bracelet, refusing to fulfill Wan Yang's final wish. Later, when she thought of Wan Yang in the past, she could never find the bracelet again. The bracelet had become a symbol of her complicated feelings towards Wan Yang and Jiang Xuehui, a reminder of the jealousy that had tainted their relationships. As she stood face to face with Wang Xing, the very woman now in possession of the bracelet, a cold realization washed over her. Her gaze met Wang Xing's, who continued her facade of concern and hospitality, a smile on her face. "You must be tired from being out," she said. "This old servant will take care of you when you return to your room." Ignoring Jiang Xuehui, Jiang Xuening's lips curled into a smirk as she addressed Wang Xing. "I was unaware of your remarkable ability to change your face," she mused, her tone laced with unveiled sarcasm. "Thank you for your support. It means a lot. Remember, liking and subscribing helps me know that you're enjoying the content, and your comments provide valuable feedback for future content. Please consider sharing this with others who might find it interesting too. I appreciate it.